Hello, hello, hello and greetings. It's another property clinic with me, Martin Roberts, answer your questions. You got the idea by now? It's Monday. You got to send me your questions. Ask Martin Monday. Hashtag Ask Martin Monday. It's on Twitter, on my Twitter at TV Martin Roberts. You ask the questions and I try to give you the answers. And it doesn't matter what you're talking about, really. Most of it's to do with property, but it doesn't have to be. It can be everything as random as how I ever driven a tractor, to my favourite roller coaster, to serious things like flying freehold and dry rot. So the world is your lobster, as they say. The world is your oyster. You know that saying? The world is your oyster. What's good about that? People say the world is your oyster. Do they? I think they do. You know, sometimes you say something, you think, oh, you're real. The world is your oyster. So maybe it's now a slimy thing at the bottom of the ocean, and if I'm lucky, I get a random particle of sand, which some indeterminate amount of time later turns into a pearl. My favourite expression, the world is your oyster. Maybe that's why they changed it, the world is your lobster, which makes even less sense. Anyway, whatever. What you will soon realise is that there's lots of random, complete gobbledygook when I'm doing these. Before we get to the actual serious questions, these are actually real questions. They have been asked on Twitter. Don't forget to like this complete drivel or subscribe if you want more of this pain. Yes, they're going to be going on once a week. Yeah, you can subject yourself to this. It's all free. I mean, wow. Anyway, light it up. Hi, Brown Squirrel. That's it. Hi. Okay, well, hi. I hope life is good. Brown Squirrel has been one of my earliest Twitter followers, so it's lovely that you're still there and you need some serious therapy. Okay, this comes from McCluskey Paul 71. Hello, I presume that's Paul McCluskey, who was born in 1971. I might be able to work that out. In actual means I can probably work out what your passwords are. Be careful. Anyway, Paul, is it true that former Grange Hill actress Fleur Tickner, who played Imelda, was one of the featured property experts in one of your shows? Well, the only property experts we have, are the estate agents. So, was she an estate agent? Fleur Tickner? Well, I don't know, is the correct answer to that. But what an accolade that would be. I was definitely one of the Grange Hill generation. Although, interestingly enough, I tried to think of a single thing that happened in a single episode. And apart from Tucker being a bully, and probably years later turned out to be quite a nice guy, and I'm sure that Todd, what's his name? Something Todd. I'm sure he was actually a really nice guy. I'm sure he got a really bad time. Isn't it terrible? Ramble. When people think the characters are that person, like people are hated that they're a horrid person in EastEnders or Corrie, and in fact they're just an actor or an actress playing a role. But anyway, so I'm not sure if Tucker had a bad time in life. But anyway, Grange Hill. Ding 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 ding. Do you remember? Again, this is a bit of a ramble. But do you remember when I was growing up as a kid? The TV, the kids' TV, was like, it came on at like 3:30 on BBC One or ITV. And it finished at 5:45, and that was it. That was the only thing you had. So you had Blue Peter. I mean, millions and millions of people used to watch Blue Peter. And you'd have that little 5-minute cartoon just before the news, which was filled by the Magic Roundabout. Sing along. Da, 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 da. And Rhubarb Custard. They were my favourite. And here's another one, Noah and Nelly. Do you remember Noah and Nelly? Noah and Nelly? All aboard the Skylark! Done by this guy called Bob Godfrey. And it was all like Wobble Vision, do you remember? And Rhubarb and Custard. Rhubarb was the dog, a green dog, don't know why. Custard was a cat, and the colour of the cat was purple-ish. Kind of reddy, kind of purple thing. But that was it. That was all you had, right? I mean, it was brilliant. I have to say, I quite like Magpie. I mean, Blue Peter was always that little bit. Magpie was a bit more rough around the edges. When I did like Jenny Henley. Ooh, love Jenny Henley. Anyway, that was such a big ramble. We haven't even had a property question yet. I apologise if you've tuned in here expecting property-related stuff. There is some coming, all right. This is from GRW567. How did your first venture into buy-to-let go? And have you got any top tips? Okay, you know, I've just recorded a thing for my property masterclass, all about buy-to-let, and that's on another playlist. You either do property to do up and sell on at a profit, or you do it to hold and keep to rent out. And there's a whole lot of different criteria. A property might be a really good doer-upper and sell on, making you look lots of capital, quick turnaround, but it might be a really rubbish thing to rent out. On the other hand, there might be stuff that's really good to rent out that would be really rubbish to do up. So it could cost you the same amount of money to do up an amazing flat in the centre of London and make loads of money. You do up the same flat in somewhere the prices aren't as high, and it costs you the same possibly, but you just wouldn't get your returns on your investment. So different criteria come into buy-to-let. As I said, there's a whole property masterclass all about buy-to-let. But my first venture into buy-to-let really went fine. The key, your top tip, is to make sure that you buy a property that's fit for purpose. So if you're buying in a student area, you want to buy a property in an area where the students want to be and the kind of house that they're going to want to rent. If you're in a family area, you want to buy a house that's close to good local schools, etc., etc. And then when it comes to actually finding the tenants, you can employ the services of a lettings agency, and they can actually just find the tenant for you, set up the agreements, and that's really important. You set up a good agreement, a short-hold tenancy agreement, so that everybody is covered. They'll set that up for you and then let you get on with it, or they can manage the property for you at a price. So the top tips are probably engage a letting agent to find someone for you, vet them, do all the checks on them, get an AST in place, an assured short-hold tenancy agreement, and then take it over and you can manage it from that point on, because realistically, the kind of problems you're going to encounter are not that frequent and many. Another question about buy-to-lets, the Equaliser 73. With the tax changes, is it still profitable for buy-to-lets, or would you advise flipping or holiday lets? Good to see a fellow Warringtonian going so well. Well, thank you very much, the Equaliser. Yes, I am proud to be from Warrington. I'm actually from Stockton Heath, which is just one sort of Cheshire side of Warrington, just across the Bridgewater Canal. That's it, the big canal, large canal that took stuff from Liverpool inland to Manchester. Amazing construction. But anyway, profitable buy-to-lets, yes. So it does seem that landlords are having a bit of a hard time at the moment, and I think that's a real shame, because they use their own money to do up properties. They provide housing stock when other people might not do it. Yes, I'm sure there are bad landlords who don't look after the tenants properly and charge too high rent, but from my experience, most landlords are decent people, and if you are decent, you are providing a social service. People, you do up a house using your own money. It could have been derelict, uninhabitable. You turn it into something which people can live in. You're doing a good job, and then you rent it out at a fair rate to people who, for whatever reason, want to rent. I can't see why landlords get such a bad rap. I'm sure there are bad ones, as there are in any business, but a lot of them are just decent people just doing a decent job. So is it still profitable? Yes, but I think you need to be very careful about how you structure your business. It might be worth looking at setting things up as a limited company, but you need to take financial advice on that from a proper financial advisor. I'm not one of those, but setting it up perhaps as a limited company, and then you can still claim some of the tax breaks and some of the offsettable things that you can't anymore if you're doing it just as a person. I say yes, it's definitely still worth doing. Okay. Hi, Jenny Liston. She asks, hi, are viewers seeing your genuine first impressions when you go into a property, or have you had a quick look round before filming? Well, it's really important you know this. I very rarely look round the property properly. I might glance at it because I have to sort of meet the crew and stuff like that. But I don't look seriously at a property before I do my filming, because I want you to experience it with me. So that's why some of the presentation is a little bit stumbly and a bit kind of like looking like I'm making it up as I'm going along. That's because I am. Yes, so I just give you that what's it called, a something of consciousness, a stream of consciousness, that's the one. A stream of consciousness of what my mind is thinking as I'm looking around. So if I've researched that, rehearsed that, worked it out, then I just don't think that works quite as well. So no, what you see is pretty much the first time I see it, and I think it's all the better for it. Okay, KY Harv asks, is it an actual thing to invest in property without using your own money or not? Okay, so this sounds a bit too good to be true, but there are techniques, one of which is called lease options, where you can invest in property with very little money, if not none. Now, we teach lease options as one of the strategies in my property training courses. You can find out all about them on martinrobertspropertyeducation.com. They're in conjunction with Asset Academy, and we teach these really quite interesting but very complicated and definitely legally just complicated techniques which you can use to reduce massively the amount of money you need to find. But there's simpler ways that you can invest in property without actually using too much of your own money, and that is if you might have friends or relatives who've actually got quite a lot of money sitting in the bank or a building society, and they're looking at, you know, investing. You've got the time and the energy and the wherewithal. Why don't you come up with some kind of structured deal with them? Now, it's really important that you do structure it properly, and it has to go through a solicitor, so everyone knows exactly what everyone else is expected to do. But it may well be that you can strike some kind of a deal with somebody who's got money to invest if you haven't. Okay, quick question from Andrew Forsey. Hi Martin, was it hard to make your first purchase from auction? So you know what, as nerve-wracking for me as it is for anybody, that first time you're in the auction room and your heart's beating and you've done all the research on the property and, you know, you've spent time analysing it, and then you're in the room and you don't know who's going to bid on it, and the auctioneer is trying to get the maximum price for the property, and all you want him to do is shut up. So I've been through that with you, and then your heart's racing, and every single time you raise your hand it's 500 quid or 1,000 quid, and it's like, oh my lord, there is nothing quite like the thrill of it. And when you win and you've got a fair price that you think you've paid, well, that is a happy day without doubt. So hard as anybody's is first time you go to an auction. It's a bit unfamiliar, and that's why I say to people, go to the auctions, just experience it. Find your local property auction. It's free to go along. You can just sit there and watch what happens, and then prepare yourself properly for the next auction. Then I'm going to do a whole property auction masterclass on, well, I've got actually my property auction masterclass, which is a DVD. That's a bit old-fashioned, isn't it? It's a downloadable 12-part series on how to buy property at auction. So there's a lot to it. It's 12 parts. It's like 7 hours. I've also got my book, the Property Auction Guide, which can guide you. But there's still nothing quite prepares you for being there yourself when it's your money. But it's definitely something worth doing, for sure. Okay. From London area. From London area. Why do you never do bungalows on the show? Honestly, why do you have a problem with them? You are so wrong. From London area. I love bungalows. I grew up in a bungalow. I lived my first 18 years in a bungalow. It was on the banks of the Bridgewater Canal in South Warrington. And my mum and dad built it. Well, they didn't actually physically build it, but they had it designed to their specifications, and they had it built in 1961, I think. And they lived there until 10 years ago. So, you know, yeah, I love bungalows. The reason we don't do bungalows on the show, and that's not true, we do. I think last year I probably did about 4 bungalows. And the only reason we don't do more is they just don't come up as often as houses do. So what we're supposed to do, you know, there is only a limit to what we can do. We can only film what comes up at auction. And there aren't that many, but bring them on. They aren't building many bungalows these days. I guess, you know, you've got a plot of land and you can build more houses or more space by doing more than one story, which is a real shame, because obviously for certain people, and that's across the board, they are absolutely perfect. And that's not just for people who have trouble, you know, climbing stairs. That, you know, lots of people just love that single floor living. You know, look at places like Australia. I mean, most of the houses, like in the outback and stuff, they're all just one story. It's like, so we do as many as we can. Oh, blimey, final question. That came about pretty quick. Hi Martin, this is from Craig Jam Craig. Hi Martin, could you tell me if it's possible to convert a conservatory into a proper extension? Well, depending on its size, it is possibly allowable under permitted development. You do need to check the local government planning portal, and then the specifics will be on there. But just to clarify a few things, permitted development is certain things you can do without getting planning permission, okay? And permitted development was introduced a few years ago to try and speed up the whole planning process. So if you can do a development under permitted development, you still, whatever, have to comply with building regulations. And that's almost like just the nuts and bolts of building. You need to build it to certain specifications, amount of insulation, you know, structural support, you know, foundations. You need to build it to comply with building regulations. So even if you get planning permission, or you don't have to find or get planning permission, then you still need to comply with building regulations. But depending on the size and depending on your specific local authority, it may well be that converting that conservatory into a proper extension is allowable under permitted development. Well, that's all for this time. Please send me any questions on Mondays to #AskMartinMonday, to @TVMartinRoberts on Twitter. But you can also leave your comments here, and I'll try and answer some of those questions as well. Like this video if you do, and make sure you subscribe to Martin Roberts Property TitBits, my channel. I'll be back with more of this very soon.